Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1041A, and today's date is August 5th, 2016, and the title of the episode is, The Job Numbers Are Not What You Think, the Economy Accelerates to the Downside. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we all know that the job numbers came out today, and we can see that this is a run-up. It's a propaganda piece to bring the job numbers, the unemployment number, down right before the elections. And actually, I'll make this prediction right now. I don't like making predictions, but I can see this is exactly where they're heading. They're using this time period right now to show that the economy is improving with these manipulated, falsified numbers that they're throwing out to the public. And they're saying, look, we're back on track, and we see the corporate media out there telling everyone that we're back on track. And we see today the stock market rising. Gold was suppressed dramatically today by $20 or so. And I'm going to say this is a run-up to make everyone believe that everything is getting back on track. And we can see they're going to make a play right before the elections to bring this unemployment rate down from 4.9, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 4.6. To prove to the country and the world that the United States has recovered from 2008. So I would suspect that they would do this most likely the middle to the end of September, right before the elections. And they're probably going to do it right around that time period. Now, it could be a little bit after, a little bit before, but it's going to be around that area. But when we look at other countries, we see they're struggling. Canada, for instance, their economy has lost 31,200 jobs in July. Because what's happening is the full-time jobs, they fell dramatically. Fewer younger Canadians, well, they're unemployed. They can't find jobs. And what's very interesting about all of this is that the economists in Canada thought during this period they were going to create 10,000 jobs for that month, and they didn't. So the unemployment rate ticked up to 6.9% from 6.8%. And we can see that full-time workers fell by 71,400. But don't worry. The whole thing was offset by 40,000 part-time jobs. Now, this is in the age group of 15 to 24, prime working age, especially those who are coming out of high school, those who are coming out of college. It's very difficult for a lot of these young individuals to get high-paying full-time jobs. I know many individuals who've been writing into me saying I'm having a very difficult time. I have a lot of student loans, I have a lot of bills, but I cannot find that job. Ontario, they lost about 36,000 jobs last month. Alberta, Canada, they saw their unemployment rate rise to 8.6%. And they're having trouble finding work. So this is actually spreading to many countries. We're seeing this all throughout Europe. We're actually seeing it here in the United States, but we have the illusion that everything is fine. Now, today, we know the job numbers came out. The BLS reported that July payroll soared by 255,000, above the highest Wall Street forecast. I mean, they thought that this was going to come in around 178,000 or so. But the unemployment rate remained at 4.9%. It really didn't move. The participation rate rose modestly from 62.8 from 62.7. Not much. But when you add all this together, you're seeing that we're over 100 million people who are looking for work that can't find work. This is a problem. Now, when we look at the job numbers, the job headlines that are all over the corporate media, the U.S. government is pushing it out there. They might be overstating the strength of the jobs. Because when we look at payroll data, when we look at other information, we see anomalies in the job numbers. Unadjusted data shows a different type of report. Nowhere as strong as what they are saying. And adds that private payrolls, unadjusted, 85,000 in July versus 217,000 jobs that were added. So it looks like they manipulated the numbers to bring it up to 217. The private payrolls are only showing 85,000. So the government, what they did, they applied a very benign seasonal adjustment factor upon private payrolls to transform a soft private payroll gain into a strong one to make it look a lot better than it really is. So where are the jobs for July? Well, South Bay Research points out it's Obamacare. They have offset the weak industrial and consumer payrolls. And we can see Obamacare in the healthcare industry, they have brought in 49,000 jobs. Now, of course, we have a major problem with this. Obamacare is failing. More than half of the exchanges have collapsed and defaulted. The others are teetering on default. And premiums are continually moving up. Construction right now, well, guess what? Those jobs have decreased. Manufacturing, retail, very weak. Mining, declining. And when we look at this, we can see that these job numbers were manipulated. And if we look very closely at this, we see that there have been 500,000 waiter and bartender jobs added since 2014 and no manufacturing jobs. This data underscores how the job recovery has been spearheaded by cheap labor, with job gains going to, guess what? The least educated, lowest paid, part-time work. It also means that while the BLS can apply these seasonal adjustment things to the job numbers, the unadjusted payrolls, they're showing something completely different. And we see there's been a lot of jobs that have been lost. Let's take the energy industry, for instance. Now, Challenger Gray and Christmas has reported that 195,000 good-paying energy jobs have been lost since 2014. Actually, if you take the total number of jobs that have been lost since 2014, according to Challenger Gray and Christmas, we're talking 1 million plus. But remember, the U.S. government, they got rid of that department that counts layoffs back in 2013 because of budget restraints. So the good-paying jobs, they're disappearing. The part-time jobs, well, this is what people are getting, if they can find them. Because we know in the waiter, bartender industry, we know that they're having problems. Traffic is starting to decline. So we're in big trouble here. And when we look at this, we can see that other things are occurring here. Corporate tax receipts are down by 11% year to date. We're seeing that non-withheld tax receipts are down by 6.5%. And if we start putting all this together from the other reports, all the retail stores that have been closing, thousands upon thousands of retail stores, all those individuals that have been laying off from retail, if we take into account factory orders are declining, Class 8 trucking is declining, rail traffic is declining, the housing bubble, prices are now coming down, the housing bubble is losing air, it's about to pop. We're seeing this spread in Australia, in Canada, UK, Europe. And by the way, this has nothing to do with the Brexit. This has been happening for a very long time. This is why we've been tracking this from the beginning. So nobody can come up and say, hey, this just happened because of the Brexit. Hey, this just happened because of this scenario or that scenario. No, we've been tracking this. We've been watching it for a very long time. If we went back to 2004, 2005 and tracked everything leading up to 2008, we've seen the same thing. The same thing occurred all the way up to the time the entire economy collapsed. Now, we talked about the GDP and how Obama hasn't had a quarter over 3%. So all of a sudden, the Atlanta Fed came out with their forecast that out of nowhere, the economy is going to grow by 3.8%. Very interesting. But on the other hand, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, they're saying that GDP is going to be growing by 2.6%. Completely different. It's 1.2% difference between the two. That's a very big difference. But what we're seeing right now is that whatever they're doing, whatever manipulating game they are on, the economy will always show us what's really happening. Look beyond the statistical numbers. Look at what the economy is really doing, and that is the truth. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.